Hello again, everyone. Welcome to part 2, GE805 Restore. Some improvements. We don't have a great picture, but we do have an image on the screen. And the way I was able to get the image on the screen, if you'll recall, our high voltage was at about 5,000 volts when we left off in part 1, and now it's checking between 7 and 8,000, and I was able to get it boosted up a little bit by turning the horizontal drive control on the back of the chassis. And this is a horizontal drive control right here. Doesn't make a lot of difference, but we got it up to about between 7 and 8,000. But anyway, a little improvement. We had more than we had when we left off in part 1. Beginning to try to get familiar with the way this chassis is laid out. Unfortunately, on our service literature, there are no parts layout diagrams. The top view does have some of the electrolytics listed there and has them labeled, but there is no bottom view that tells you the symbol numbers on any of these electrolytics or any of these paper caps. So it's going to be a little harder to work on this set than your typical vintage TV. But what I've been doing this morning, you can see I've written with a Sharpie these numbers on these electrolytics: 373, 74, 380, 384, 371. That's the numbers that correspond to the symbols on the schematic. You see right in the center, 373, 374, 83, and 84. That's those 4 capacitors right there. And 71 is one of those 2 in the AC input circuit. Funny thing is, that's 371 in the bottom of the chassis, and the other one is right there, 372, and it's on top of the chassis. This multi-section cap right here with the paper that's all disintegrated on it, it's actually on the layout. There it is right there. It's C257, 258, and C406. So that tells us what this cap is. And then we have one more right here that has a paper sleeve on the top. And it's also on the top view chassis layout. And that's C287 and 358 and 354. That's what I've been doing this morning. So I have the electrolytics identified. There may be another one or two that's mounted on this board that I haven't found yet, but the larger ones I have identified them. Now these paper caps, there's no layout whatsoever on these 2 circuit boards. We have a board here and a board down there. So those I'm just going to have to take them one at a time, go slow, and replace them one at a time. After I replace one, try the set, make sure that we're still as playing as well as it was or has improved. That way we hopefully won't make any mistakes. Really going to be a challenge, but it's kind of interesting to see the way this thing is designed. While I would like to restuff these 4, well actually 5 caps underneath, It would be nice to have them out of the way. You can see how much more room I have just by taking them out of the holders. So just for kicks, I measured the caps. Now, I know I can't put enough voltage to them with my cap checker to accurately measure them, but they all checked within specs. Now I will be replacing them, but guess what I'm trying to say? I'm inclined to leave all these alone for now and just concentrate on the paper caps. The power supply voltages are pretty much where they need to be. That 265 is right on the money, and that 150 is right. I'm sure there's a couple of more sources that branch off of those, but I think they're good enough for this set to work. So for now, we're going to leave all the old electrolytics where they're at, and I'll start changing these paper caps, see if we can make some improvements that way. And then once we get the set playing better, we'll be replacing these or restuffing. I'm not sure what I'll do. Probably restuff. These, I'm sure, are the original caps, so it'd be kind of a shame not to restuff them. So let's get with it here on day 2. Well, I have determined what the deal is on this fuse. This replaced that thermal cutout, and you can kind of tell connections have been resoldered. Looks like someone's changed that thermal cutout and just put a regular fuse in it. Kind of makes sense because I don't see anything in the modifications on the factory literature that says anything about putting a fuse in place of that thermal cutout. And probably when this had the cutout on it, it was just a button you push like a circuit breaker. That would explain the smaller hole in the back of the case too. Well, we have all the paper caps changed and made some improvements. Picture's a little more stable than it was, but when you turn the contrast control, it really affects the signal level. And if you turn it back too far, you lose everything. So let's get it as good as we can. Okay, well, how about right there? Maybe not. Okay. Have not replaced any of the electrolytics. And measuring some voltages here just before I changed all the electrolytics. This 10 mic cap right here is about 300 volts on the positive side of it. Feeds a horizontal oscillator and the AFC phase detector or phase inverter. See, the positive lead comes down to the plate of the horizontal oscillator, and then it scoots on over here to the plate of the phase inverter. So I thought I'll try something that we used to do when I was in the TV repair business, called bridging a cap. The old one is still hooked up, but we're going to bridge it and just watch the difference. Horizontal and vertical are good, and we can turn the contrast down. Good brightness. Now I'm going to unhook it. And there's what we've got. So, hook it back up. Pretty stable picture there now. That cap is that 3-section there where you can see my test lead. That's a 3-section cap right there. I think if we change that, the electrolytics, I think we're going to solve our problems. Get this set going. That's a 3-section. And we have one right back here. I think that's a 3-section. Yeah, I think it is. And of course we got all these others that we've discussed before. So the electrolytics are next, but we got a good stable picture there now. We have two problems with the sound. That's the volume control all the way down. So this control needs some attention. I'll try to just pull it out and hopefully can clean it, and it'll be working okay then. And our speaker that cone is making it rattle a lot.
Coming, this true story about me, TV, where's the big plan went to Monday through Friday. Said, Brian, is the place you want to be, so they
we can live with a problem like that. That's hopefully something pretty simple to repair. Alright, we're going to start on these electrolytics. First one we're going to do is the one that I had bridged that take care of the picture problem. It's a 3-section. I've taken several photos so I can get it all hooked back up right. I'm going to try to just pull this out and restuff it because it is a can type that shows on the top of the chassis. Well, after a bit of a struggle, I was able to get it out, and it didn't break any of the 4 mounting tabs off. It only broke just a little bit of that top insulator. This did have a cardboard sleeve over it because these are all isolated. They're not connected to the chassis. So we'll put some kind of a sleeve back over this. There's a top that was on it, so we can reuse that. Alright, 3 caps installed, and we have them just wrapped around the terminals so we can hook the wires up and solder it all at one time. And here's the sleeve I made. I was able to cut off the label off the old sleeve that has the values of each cap. So just like that. Okay, we're all back in and hooked up, so let's give it a try. Good. Seems to be working fine. So contrast and brightness. That horizontal is way too wide because I done some readjusting on it whenever we had the picture problem trying to spread the picture out, so need to do some readjusting there. And I cleaned out around that old cap after I took it out. So we'll put this cover back on. Just a little glue on that. Okay, second electrolytic, and it went right there. Another 3-section, so we'll get it restuffed. There's a few ways you can restuff an electrolytic cap, a can type. On the first one we pried the tab around the edge, cut it, and just used the phenolic piece with caps mounted on it, then put a tube over the top. On the second one I left a portion of the cap and just sawed it with a bandsaw, and then I cut just a cardboard tube. Once we get the new caps in, we'll put the tube over it, glue it. The label on this one's pretty rough, but I think I could peel off enough of that with the values listed there to put it on this the new label. And may paint this black, kind of match the old one. There's what I use. This is just I think this is a paper towel tube. Yeah, because it's smaller And this was the first cap. We used this larger tube, which is, I think that's a wrapping paper tube there. But there's just a couple of examples of the two that we're doing today. Dremel tool. Bored our 3 holes for the 3 caps, and then there's a ground over at the side. Now we'll clean these terminals off, get the new caps mounted, get this put back in. Alright, second electrolytic restuffed, put back in. Did put a new resistor right here, and that attaches to this junction of these 2 caps, so that's why I have the test lead just hooked up temporarily. But we're working, still working good. Here's the cover I made, painted with some black paint, and I was able to glue all of the label I could back on this new cover. And there's our cover back on, and I put the label turning out so you can see it from the side of the chassis. And these yoke wires, they were taped to that old cap, so we'll do that too. Just take some masking tape. And we're going to show you a third way to restuff these caps. Now these are single sections, so that makes it a lot easier. But what I've done, I've just peeled that rolled edge up on this one end, and then that'll slide out. We'll put our new cap in the old cardboard tube and just come out with a lead on each end, and then we'll use some hot glue to seal up the ends. There's a value. If I turned it over, you could see it better, couldn't you? The first 2 caps I'm going to be replacing are in the AC input circuit. And these are actually 150 mic each. So I'm going to put just one 300 mic. And a minus lead goes here, positive lead to that resistor. And here's the AC coupling cap, this one right here. We've done away with, we had 2 150 mic each, so we put one 300 mic in this sleeve here. And did have to add on a little bit of wire there to make it all work, and I took some acetone and wiped my Sharpie 373, I think it was, that was on this one. Wiped it off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 on top. 5 to go. Unless we find another one that I've missed. But 5 more electrolytics in cans. Time to take a break. Restuffing those 2 caps, it just takes a while. I'm really happy with the result, but it's a time-consuming thing. Just you don't have much area to work with there. And have to go slow. Make sure you don't make a mistake. We'll get back on this and finish these 5 caps. Probably do that on another day.
We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, and we'd love it if you would subscribe to our channel. Thanks.